Caught off guard. Fate is a very weighty word to throw around before breakfast, but here she was, in the great port city of Wavemeet Bay, and for the first time in her life, far from the green embrace of the jungle, everything smelled like the very breath of the sea. Cooked meats, sweat, and manure drying on planks. This was a moment and a memory which would, no doubt, be triggered by those smells for many years to come. Her back against the shack, Sheikah's chest felt tight as she watched a broad-shouldered broodveer brood at the patrons of an open-air tavern on the dock from his perch at the end of the bar. She may still be unblooded, but Sheikah wasn't one to give in so easily to fear in the face of a threat. No, her hesitance came from both the shock of the new environment — it had been miles since there was more than one old-growth tree in a cluster — and the realization that the broodveer didn't bother with an eye patch. He wanted people to see that scar, so he could evaluate their gazes back at him. Sheikah rolled her shoulders to loosen up.
This isn't going to be easy.
The broodveer was well known as the Naren Queen's personal bodyguard, and a renowned knight under his own name, Sir Vuk. Why he had been put in charge of setting up security for this Torresk-inspired festival was beyond Sheikah's ability to guess. Sheikah could tell by the way the broodveer gripped his mug and glared over the rim in silence, with clenched jaw, that he was likely not pleased by the assignment. He would not be a man easily impressed by a new recruit, even of Genoan heritage. Yet the call for festival guards had been a lucrative prospect, and she couldn't stand to stay unblooded and unproven.
Well, job's a job.
Melin, the guide that had been assigned to her since being processed upon arrival to the Naren town, stood solemn and unblinking next to her.
That's Sir Vuk right across the way. Be polite, pay for his drink, and give him your document with job orders. It will be fine.
Melin smiled in an effort to put her at ease, but Sheikah cringed. She had never had to interact with an actual Drass in the flesh before, and found their gaunt features abhorrent. The sooner she was without him, the better. Sheikah straightened and strode across the broad planks that kept the still bustling portside market above the high tide. The Rusty Hook was not much more than a wide bar at the edge of a pier with a few mismatched tables and chairs clustered around the front of a stall under the open sky. A few serviceable sails had been rigged above the immediate bar area, allowing for some shelter from inclement weather. Sheikah stopped in front of Sir Vuk's stool and stomped her staff upon the wooden planks with force before sitting next to him, to indicate she was there and worthy of attention. Clearing her throat, Sheikah unclenched her hands from around the folded note with a Naren diplomatic seal on the fold, and held it out to him. Sir Vuk shifted in his seat and let out a sigh. In silence he drained the last of his mug, slammed it down to signal the barkeep, and turned slowly to her. He opened the sealed note with a nod. This is something he was expecting.
Genoan,
Sir Vuk growled while leveling at her, giving her full view of his ragged scar. Up close she could see that the scar ranged from his left brow, where 3 slashes had made a ruin of his empty eyelid, and ended abruptly on his cheekbone. He pointed to his strong-smelling mug, then the barkeep, and finally leveled one finger at her chest. Sheikah did not flinch. She handed coins to the prompt barkeep in exchange for 2 full mugs of steaming green liquid. The Torresk diplomat she traveled with had given her the foreign coins and counted them carefully, telling her how many to use for which task. She nodded in acknowledgement to the barkeep, and then raised a mug to Sir Vuk with a tentative, toothy grin. Sheikah coughed at her first sip. This was not ale. It was tea? Sheikah took more measured sips of the most bitter tea she had ever encountered. It made her eyes water. She pointed to the fanged crescent jaguar skull woven into a feathered shawl, where it rested on her shoulder. She nodded upward with her chin at his scar and made her hand in the shape of a claw, questioningly. Sir Vuk shook his head.
Karal Hash.
and pointed to the bear tooth hanging from his neck. He straightened his spine and put his hand on his leg, where he leaned into the bar and took another look at her. After gulping down a swig of the odd steaming brew from his mug, he nodded slightly to himself. He reached into his vest pocket and dangled a large iron key in front of her. Sir Vuk flipped over her note and started drawing a map of the docks. Placing the key in her hand, he made an obvious gesture at the scrawl of letters next to the crude map. Sheikah looked at it and cringed again at the thought of needing the dross to translate. Sir Vuk drained his mug and turned away from her, settling back into his resigned glare over the bar. Sheikah closed her fist around the key and left. She had the job, and he wouldn't understand anyway. That was enough. Sheikah left without a word.